Over the past couple of years, we have seen how Disney and Lucasfilm transitioned from Star Wars movies being the main focus to Star Wars TV shows being the overall focus for the franchise. And that is something now that, by the way, Bob Iger, the new CEO of Disney, is completely changing as fast as possible by focusing more so on movies again, and then TV shows being more or less of a supplement to the franchise. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way guys, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support. It is greatly appreciated. Now, one thing that we do know about The Mandalorian as a series is that John and Dave have confirmed this multiple times before in the past that the show's going to get more and more involved with the Force and the ways of the Jedi and everything related to all of that, and how there are bigger and better things planned out for revelations related to Grogu. Now, just a couple of days ago we talked about how Jon Favreau really kind of teased the ending of The Mandalorian. However, today we will be going over how a Lucasfilm spokesperson teased even more about the ending of the Mandalorian series and what Lucasfilm has been discussing with John and Dave and their plans for how the actual ending of the show is going to take place. So one thing that we do know about Mando right now is that Favreau said that his plan, or his initial plan, was to end the series at a season 4, which by the way he's already writing as we speak. However, he did say that if 4 proves to be successful, he has a backup story for how Mando 5 and Mando 6 could very well play out. And that's basically, of course, what he has as a backup plan. Now, on top of this, what's very exciting is that with Lucasfilm now fully committed to satisfying the fans in order to create a consistent, successful brand when it comes to Star Wars. Most recently, Lucasfilm came forward and teased something big about the ending of the Mandalorian series by both John and Dave. Now, a spokesperson for Lucasfilm recently stated the following for the fans. We have discussed with John and Dave on how this series will conclude and what we have settled on, and one thing that we can hint for fans is that many of what you are about to see in Star Wars Ahsoka is going to be a setup for how The Mandalorian as a show will come to a close for good. Many of the characters involved in Ahsoka are going to have a great influence over the ending of The Mandalorian show, and how it will actually evolve into another new show that John and Dave are already crafting for us here. We have characters like Ezra, Thrawn, and Sabine that are going to lend a great hand in the Mandalorian ending, and how it also is going to have to do with a crucial revelation related to Grogu and his character development toward the series end. Now let me just pause here. Now, one thing that we do know about Grogu in the Star Wars franchise right now, and we have talked about this before with the leaks and such for Mando 4, is that they do have a plan set out to unveil his true identity. And basing on one of the finalized storyboard illustrations that were finalized to be used for the script, Grogu is labeled as Minch, of course, as a name. Basically, Yorl Minch is his name in the storyboard. So you got Yaddle, Yorl, and Yoda. It kind of is like a little, rhyme, or almost like a very interesting way that their species are called. And that's basically Favreau's plan, is to actually start each character with a Y. So you have Yaddle, Yoda, and Yorl, Y-O-R-A-L, is the plan to name Grogu as his true name. Meanwhile, Grogu is actually the name of the planet that Yorl comes from. So basically, the overall idea that Favreau is setting up is that Grogu is called Grogu because the Jedi tapped into his mind of the only thing that he could think about, home. And this was also teased in the Book of Boba. He talks about how, would you like to remember? Can you remember that back home? And his home, mainly, was where he came from. They are basically set out to demystify Grogu in the Mandalorian series end. But that's not all. Lucasfilm goes on to tease more about how the Mandalorian as a species is going to truly you know, how the Mandalorian as a, you know, show, I should say, is going to lend itself into the Yoda species. So, on top of this, alright, they go on to say, we have been having fun conversations with both of them and what they are about to establish for the end of the Mandalorian series, and how it is going to have some pretty big impacts on all Skywalker trilogies across the board. I think we have some pretty big, of course, plans here, and I can say that with no ego, that they really are about to change how fans see those films with some of the revelations that they have in store and planned for the end of the show, and how it's going to be used as a bridge to cross into another new major show that will allow us to explore further spin-off shows. Now, the spokesperson over at Lucasfilm, without a doubt, is alluding to what we talked about before, of how the Mandalorian series end is going to basically evolve into a show called Star Wars Mandalore. We talked about this already. Star Wars Mandalore is basically the Bo-Katan series, but it's going to involve all the fan-favorite characters that you know. Like Din Djarin, Grogu, Ahsoka, Luke, you name it, so on and so forth. But it's going to be an entirely new conflict, an entirely new story, and it's going to take place multiple years after the events of The Mandalorian. So Star Wars Mandalore, it has a similar title, has a similar familiarity to it in a sense and spirit, which I like, and you can see what John and Dave are building upon. So, all these different teases of how the Mandalorian end is going to involve characters like Ezra, Sabine, Thrawn, Ahsoka, and all those characters in the Ahsoka series, and how the show of Ahsoka is going to basically be a prelude to how the Mandalorian is going to end. Alright, really kind of cements things in further. So there's a lot of great things coming out of this. John and Dave have already hinted that the golden age of Star Wars is near, that they really have some of the best material that they would have never thought about even making a couple of years ago. And that talks a lot. That shows a lot of what John and Dave are about to do. So, when you look at stuff like this too, we also have Bob Iger, you know, trying to really kind of create movies again. And we already talked about how they already greenlit a Mandalorian trilogy. Alright, basically these are going to be new sequel trilogy movies in a sense. It's going to feature all the characters in the Mandoverse, except on an extremely high budget, and theatrical, you know, released movies, as well as having that movie running time. 2.5 to 2 hours and 45 minutes per movie, featuring all those beloved characters. And you know what? I think it's a good move because there's still a lot of people out there that don't really know much about, you know, characters like Grogu or Din Djarin and stuff like that. The common moviegoers that don't have a Disney Plus subscription don't really get to watch these shows, so they want to expand The Mandalorian into the form of movies as well. So overall, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know what you guys have to say about all this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.